So, Ivo, when was the last time we updated your wiki page?
Oh God. Couple of years.
We should fix that.
Oh God. You see, there's this really interesting sensation when Zubaydah smiles at you and says anything about the wiki. You suddenly feel like this 1,000-watt spotlight has just landed on you, and the whole world is staring at you. And even for a herald, who by definition draws attention to himself, it's just a slightly unnerving experience.
I am seeing the face of a tortured man.
When I first started in the SCA, my first love, of course, was fighting, but I've long since hung up my armor. But when I got into Bardic, one of the niches that I discovered was that there was not a lot of storytellers. I mean, there were some, and there's some very good ones, but a typical Bardic competition would be 5 or 6 songs, 3 or 4 poets, and if you're lucky, you had one storyteller, and frankly, they were bad. And I loved the art of the narrative, and I fell in love with history, not made up history, not fanciful history, but I actually did a lot of research, and a lot of my stories are based on hard historical fact. And I took home a couple of Bardic competitions with those stories as well. But over the years, through different avenues, but I also have done a lot to try and chronicle different aspects of kingdom history. And Zubaydah's efforts to record what frankly will be lost, as people move away or at this point, even pass away, are nothing short of heroic. And her efforts are helping to codify and document kingdom culture are very, very important to us as we move forward.
Well, someone said follow what you do good at, and I'm pretty good at nagging, so.
I have a question.
Sure.
What is a Star Principal Herald?
Before you answer that, tell me what year you were doing that.
From 2015 to early 2017.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. To answer your question, each kingdom has a College of Heralds. It's Zubaydah's live chat. Her live. Lilith says hi, by the way.
Hi, Lilith.
Each kingdom has a College of Heralds. This is an administrative group that, among other things, tracks all the awards given. In our kingdom, it includes the College of Scribes, which paints and does up all of the charters, all the actual scrolls. They track awards, they do voice elder service, and so forth. That college has an administrative head, and in every kingdom, that is considered the principal herald. It's one of the greater officers of state, and it's dictated by society law that there will be a principal herald for each kingdom. In Ansteora, we call our star principal herald off of, because the name Ansteora is Old English for 1 star. If you needed any more evidence that Texas pretty much dominated our culture for our foundation.
My opinion is that Oklahoma is better. But I'm an Oklahoman, so.
I've never had a Texas zip code in my life, so we could go places with that opinion, but that's for another conversation.
Indeed.
So does anybody have any questions about the Onstioran wiki itself? Has anybody visited? I know Ivo has.
I do all the time.
I've looked at a few. My favorite one is the Kingdom Treasures page. I will always weep for the glass crowns.
I have yet to get anyone to confirm Burke's story that they existed. So we have one person who says, yep, they existed, I held them, but nobody else has been able to confirm that. So
have we spoken to their majesties at the time?
He was not able to confirm which majesty got to wear them. The one person he said could totally confirm his story looked at me and said, I have no idea what Burke was drinking. So
Okay, those may well
Oh,
not
boy.
exist at all.
we don't know. We just don't know yet.
Valid.
Have any of you ever pressed the random page button?
I have not, and guess what? I'm going to go do that now.
There's a okay, now I'm going there.
So if you look on the left-hand side on the navigation bar,
Slow down.
the first button says main page, then it says recent changes, and then it says random page. And you
It does.
click that link, and it will send you to a random page on the Onstjorn wiki.
I got
Wow.
a person.
Who'd you get?
Katrina Aliste Argo.
Cool. Ivo, what'd you get?
Oh, 60th crown of Onstjorn. Gunther the
How
second.
many crowns have we had?
82.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have had an abbreviated reign that was shortened before its normal course, and now we've had an extended reign. So, but yep, most are the standard duration.
May I ask why we had a shortened reign?
There was a court of inquiry that ended the reign.
Ah, yes. I think I remember hearing about that. I think I asked you about that, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I have had the pleasure of talking with the herald who was taking notes for the court of inquiry, and I've had the pleasure of talking to the then young gentleman who hosted the two members of the board of directors at his house before and after the board of inquiry, and they have some fascinating stories to tell you, let me say.
If
I
only
want to
I could
hear
get
the
them to come to a
story.
gathering such as this and tell the stories.
Do you remember any of them?
Oh, I remember all of them, and I am not comfortable repeating them because of the figures involved.
That
But-
is valid.
Say what?
That is valid.
Yeah. And it's not anything damning. It's not like there's secrets in the background, but the one thing that everyone needs to remember about the SCA, or about the SCA at the time, and specifically Onstjorn, was the overwhelming majority of SCAers in Onstjorn at that time were young, either recently married or unmarried, and half of them were kids by any definition you and I would use today.
Mhm.
You know, the old members were in their 20s, kind of thing. It
Yeah.
was, you know, it was a bunch of sci-fi fans and geeks in Freon can armor and Freon can helmets and carpet armor, and you know, they were making it up as they went. There's one story I've heard, and I had the pleasure to talk to Duke Lloyd's herald, who will verify this. Lloyd was, if I remember this correctly, Lloyd was the second king of Onstjorn, and part of the conflicts with the first king was the king's interpretation of the rules versus the populace's interpretation of the rules, and there were, 100 different interpretations. That's just a neutral rendering of what was recalled from the time. Lloyd was evidently a avid and addicted D&D gamer when this was all taking place. And the story goes that as soon as he won the second crown tournament of Onstjorn, he got in his car. Keep in mind, this was 40 years ago. Computers were not a thing, and printers sure as hell didn't exist. He took a copy of Kingdom Law and Society Law to a nearby copy center, had, I think it was 6 copies made, covered, and bound. He stuck one in his armor bag and one by each phone in his house. So anytime he got a phone call about anything related to kingdom policy, he'd go, wait a minute. He'd pull out the rules and go, okay, here's what the rules say, ink on paper. Now, what do we need to do? And that was how he ran his reign, was falling back on the rules. Now, whether it was a good reign or a bad reign, that's for people who are closer to the source than I am. But that, that tidbit, I think, offers some insight into what type of people helped found the kingdom.